And you can also follow Jeff on twitter.com/Jeff_Erickson. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Doing well, Matthew, but man, don't own Peyton Manning anywhere, and I don't own Demaryius Thomas anywhere. Not because I didn't like him, just didn't work out that way, and it's just killing me today just watching this game. It's just such a machine right now.
You know, Jeff, as a Bronco fan, it reminds me of the late 90s, the Terrell Davis and John Elway and McCaffrey and Rod Smith and Sharp. It looks that professional, and obviously Manning might be another level than John Elway in terms of execution and audibles at the line, but it is fun to watch. There's no question about that. But I wanted to ask you, Jeff, maybe it hits home a little bit, and at least you got the Reds in the playoffs, but what in the world is going on with the Bengals? I mean, is it just a lack of killer instinct? Is it taking an opponent too lightly? How do you lose 17-6 against a team that you shouldn't lose to if you consider yourself a playoff contender? And then on the other side of things, how do you trade your top running back, throw in a backup quarterback, and you're 2-0?
Couple things. One, I think that Cleveland's defense is way underrated. I think they're actually a legitimately good defense. Two, Andy Dalton is the weak link in the Bengals' whole storyline here. Even when they beat the Packers the other day, or last week, it was a case where it was despite Dalton. It wasn't because of Dalton. I think that he is definitely. I have major concerns whether he is going to be capable of carrying this team throughout the season through the playoffs. I just think that they're a really stout defense. They've worn down that last drive. They're just worn out after holding Cleveland all day long. Hoyer is better than Whedon right now. There's that. Getting Josh Gordon on the field changes this entire offense for Cleveland too.
All right, elsewhere in the NFL, San Diego just took the lead with a field goal. They're up 23-21 right now, with 11:36 and counting right now in the fourth quarter, as the Cowboys do have the ball, though, in San Diego territory, Jeff. But I wanted to ask you about wide receiver for the San Diego Chargers, Keenan Allen, who is having a very good game.
Yeah, rookie out of Cal. He seems to be a guy that I think could be pretty productive. I think they've grown wary of waiting for Vincent Brown to start producing. And so, okay, we'll turn to our next option here, and happens to be a highly touted rookie. He's getting his legs under him in the NFL game, and he's starting to produce.
Jeff, does Greg Jennings become a viable option now? I mean, 3 catches today, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, though, and obviously the Vikings looking a lot better on offense with Matt Castle under center. Does Greg Jennings or any other Vikings receiver now become a huge factor in fantasy?
Castle looked good today, but I'm not convinced he's any semblance of a long-term solution. I'd say he's a good bye-week guy or a third wide receiver. I don't want to count on him anything more than that, though.
All right, Jeff, tell me about Chris Durham in Detroit, and if you think he's worth picking up. Everyone talked about Ryan Broyles as being the new guy to replace Nate Burleson if you were looking for another wide receiver in that attack, but Durham looked pretty good today, 3 catches, 58 yards.
He did. I think they're struggling to figure that out. They still might even trade for a wide receiver. With Burleson out for a long period of time, they haven't committed him being out for the year. Broyles, remember, he's still getting back to speed from that knee injury, and while he's on the field, maybe he's not all himself yet. And this is not his first injury either. That's the other issue with him. So I view him as Durham is kind of more of a he happens to be the flavor this week. I want to see it twice before I really invest much in him.
Game Points here on TSN 690, talking some fantasy football with Jeff Erickson as we see the Denver Broncos score yet another touchdown, this time on the defensive side of things. So things are getting ugly right now in Denver. Meanwhile, speaking of ugly, Jeff, 37-3, the Jacksonville Jaguars lose. Just absolutely brutal. I mean, if you're ever going to assure yourself of getting the top pick, continue to use Blaine Gabbert as your starting quarterback. That seems to be the mantra of the Jaguars, and it's working out well. But where do you weigh in on some of the other characters here from this game? In other words, Donald Brown only had a few carries, but he did have 65 yards. Is he a guy that you might vault up your rankings a little bit?
I don't think so. It's just because, Ahmad Bradshaw didn't play today, but he's not going to be out all year. So I could see the scenario there where it's just that Brown, he really needs Bradshaw to be out for an extended period of time. If that does happen, though, yeah, I'll look into it here because Trent Richardson didn't really do a whole lot today against the Jaguars. His yards per carry is right down around 3 yards a carry again. He's not exactly tearing it up. So, yeah, I can see that happening.
Jeff, with Mr. Run DMC McFadden going out with a hamstring injury today, shocker, with the Raiders. Where do you weigh in on Rashad Jennings, who's been able to put up some yardage on rushing and receiving today in his absence?
Oh, I'll be bidding on him. There's no doubt about that, especially because I own McFadden in a couple leagues. So, yeah, I'm gonna feel the pain on that one a little bit, but. Yeah, I think that you look at him and he's got a chance to get that job. I do remember though when he was the guy that filled in for MJD for that Week 16 game. It was a good matchup at the time against the Titans when the Titans weren't so hot defensively, and he laid a big egg. So I kind of wonder if he's better off as a sub than he is as the main guy, or if that was just happened to be a bad game because. I think I'd go after him in the leagues that I play in. Any running back that's starting has got some value, but I wouldn't count on him being a main guy.
Jeff, where are the Bills going to get their offense from now? I mean, Fred Jackson leaves today's game with a leg injury, and then not long after, C.J. Spiller suffers an ankle sprain. Does Tashard Choice actually have a chance of playing a major role in this offense?
Yeah, I want to see what happens with all the injury notes that happened during the week here to see how severe these injuries are. But, yeah, you have to think that they're going to be at least a possibility that they're going to be part of this mix. The Buffalo offense, though, really was miserable without those two running backs in the second half. They did almost nothing. So I kind of wonder if it's just going to be one of those situations where everybody gets hurt by it.
Jeff, a little-known receiver by the name of Tim Wright got 5 catches, 41 yards today for Tampa Bay in their loss. Obviously, Mike Glennon, the young quarterback, didn't have a banner day, but they looked good for 3 out of 4 quarters. Where do you weigh in on him, especially with them already having, Mike Williams and Vincent Jackson?
Well, they've been looking for a third receiver option. They don't have much of a tight end to speak of. They've gone through a number of different guys at third wide receiver, and nothing's really panned out. This is a start, at least. The thing is, this Tampa offense was pretty awful today. Arizona really concentrated on shutting down Doug Martin, said, okay, Doug Martin's not going to beat us. We're going to put 7-8 guys in the box constantly. We're going to make Mike Glennon beat us, and he couldn't. So right now this is kind of a low-powered offense. They've got a strong defense. You're going to see a lot of ground and pound games. I think Greg Schiano's content with running Martin 20-25 times, even with the low efficiency rate, because it keeps Glennon from trying to make too many decisions to have to win or lose the game.
Chatting with Jeff Erickson from rotowire.com, a great fantasy sports website for all fantasy sports news, all sports. Jeff, I know he was the third-string tight end, but he did start today. He did have 5 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. Sean McGrath of the Chiefs, what do you make of him moving forward?
Well, Anthony Fasano has been hurt the last couple of weeks. They lost Moiaki in the preseason. They're looking for a decent tight end. And, again, this is another team that's looking for other options in the passing game. It can't always be Dwayne Bowe and Donnie Avery. And so this is a positive development for Alex Smith to find a good tight end to throw to here. So, if I've got a tight end on bye week next week or a tight end hurt, I'll take a dart throw on him.
All right, and your thoughts on the matchup for your Reds against the Pirates on, was it Tuesday, I think it is, in the wild card round?
It looks like it's going to be Johnny Cueto. That's obviously a little bit of a risk given how, he was out for so long, just has pitched 2 starts since coming back. His command is a little off, but, the Reds are just not hitting right now. They're not playing very good ball, and it seems like it's a bit of a death march for this team. They're just kind of limping down the stretch. The Pirates are playing much better ball. But we all know momentum in baseball is the next day's starting pitcher, so we'll see. Anything can happen. I would say that the Pirates are favored, especially with Liriano getting to pitch at home like this, and the Reds being so left-handed heavy in terms of their top hitters. So it's setting up well for the Pirates. I would give them about a 60-40 chance of winning that game.
What do you make of the tiebreak game between Tampa and Texas upcoming for the American League right to face Cleveland in the wild card game?
Very fun race down the stretch here. Interesting to see what happens with that. I think that you're probably going to see I'm curious at least to see if Nelson Cruz plays. He's eligible. He'll be on the active roster. His suspension ended today, exactly 50 games. It wasn't a rest of the year clause, so he could actually play. Do the Texas Rangers try to insert a little bit more offense with him? Do they think he's ready? That's going to be an interesting angle to go with there. But David Price at home, I think that the Rays have to be favored.
All right, let's hope they get more than 30,000 there for that game.
Yeah, probably won't. Although it's interesting seeing that they get such good TV ratings. It's just that their their stadium situation is so untenable for them.
Jeff Erickson, Jeff_Erickson on Twitter.com if you want to follow him there. And again, the website is rotowire.com. Jeff, thanks as always.
My pleasure, guys.